Happy Hispanic and Italian Heritage Month. So these two, cultural events happen around the same month. And since this show revolves around that of a Mexican and Italian family, I decided to combine these two. And so I'm here today to talk to you about Wizards of Waverly Place, the series rundown review part 2. Zeke Beakerman, played by that of Dan Benson. In his first appearance in season 1, he was actually named Zach, but then in his second appearance, they changed his name to Zeke for some reason. Zeke is Justin's best friend, and he's just as nerdy and geeky as him. He's all into sci-fi, he believes in aliens, he is a super dork. In fact, he might even be dorkier than that of Justin. He is also super flamboyant when the series progresses more on towards the third and a little bit of the fourth season, but mostly that of the third. It's weird, when he first started off, he's Justin's best friend, like I said before. And his first appearance, he seemed like he really couldn't stand Justin all that much. But then later on, he just idolized Justin. He is obsessed with Justin. It was to the point I thought his character actually might have been secretly gay. Because of the simple fact, he's super flamboyant. He is ultra obsessed with Justin. You never see him with a girlfriend or talking about crushing on girls, really. And then there was that one episode where he was a cheerleader because him and Alice dressed up to cheer Justin on in the basketball team. And he really hammed up that cheerleader scene to where he was just extremely flamboyant and stuff. And I think at some point in time, somebody started to probably be all is he gay or whatever? So towards the end of season, well, not towards the end, but towards the middle of season 4, he starts a relationship with Harper. And even then, I still thought he might have been gay because when she wanted to kiss him, he didn't want to kiss her. So I'm all what the world is going on? But then it turned out he was just afraid because he's never been kissed before. So I think at some point in time, they wanted to turn Alex bisexual, I think somebody wanted to turn him gay. But then when the 4th season came around, they got new showrunners, they made it sure that they made him straight and everything. And so him and Harper just date towards the end of the season. And personally, I never liked the idea of him and Harper dating because they kept just matching everybody up. But, she was a really supportive girlfriend towards him because he realized that there's something weird going on with the Russos and everything. And because, more and more of their magic started leaking out and it started getting harder for them to hide it and stuff, especially when Max turned into a girl. And he was at the point where he was going to break up with Harper. He's all if you can't tell me the truth and you keeping secrets from me, there's no point of us dating. And she was straight up about to tell him and everything. But, Justin decided he'll be the one to break it to him and stuff like that. Once he learned out about magic, he would not shut up about it. He wanted Justin to do this and do that and form this spell. And it got very, very annoying, even to where Justin had to call him out on it. Now, we don't know what Zeke has been up to since the show has been off the air and with the new revival series. Because Dan Benson is not allowed to be on Disney Channel anymore. No, he did not commit no crime. But he took up a brand new job, and it doesn't fall in line with Disney's policy and everything. It was to the point that before Wizards Beyond Waverly Place came out, Sadly, him and David Henry are no longer on talking terms. Because, like, in fact, David blocked him like 2 years ago. See, what happened was they was doing an interview somewhere, and the reporter decided, or the interviewer decided to be one of those, haha, I got you kind of moments. So she held up a bunch of pictures of former cast members and asked everybody, including the kids, which former cast member would you like to see on your new show? David looked at the pictures, laughed, and was like, oh, come on, man. You know he can't be on there and stuff. So then the kids were kind of confused. They didn't know what the world he was talking about, but then they looked and like, oh, okay. So they know and everything. And so this got word to Dan, and Dan got extremely pissed. I'm not sure why he got pissed, because he knows he can't be on Disney Channel anymore. You know, like, so I'm not sure why he got pissed. But he basically started a one-person feud with David Henry and just berated him online, making fun of him and all this other stuff, to the point where David just blocked him on social media. I don't know if they're on talking terms now, but as of 2 years ago or a year ago, whenever the rebooted or revival series came out, they were not on talking terms. Mason Grayback, played by Greg Skulkin. So he was first mentioned in the second season in the Future Harper episode. When Future Harper asked her, have you met or have you started dating Mason yet? And she's like, who's that? And she's like, oh, you'll find out. And so he gets introduced in the third season. He's in Alex's art class and he's very obsessed with her, drawing this big picture of her and stuff like that on the street pavement. And so in this, like, it was like an hour episode special with a different format. It felt more cinematic, like a movie, especially with the dopey music playing in the background. So basically, when she went on a date with him, she realized he was hiding something, but she didn't know what. So her and Harper cornered him, and he transformed into a werewolf. Now, he has two different werewolf forms. One is more like a humanoid werewolf, where it's just the pointy ears and the little hair, and the other one is full werewolf and stuff. And so when the two girls didn't freak out, he realized they must be some kind of magical beings and stuff. Well, Alex is, but of course Harper is not. And so they start dating and they fall like in love with each other, to the point where he gives her a necklace. And if the necklace glows, that means you're in love with the person who gave it to you. And so it was this big romantic episode, which I think I covered, so go watch that. Basically, you know, it's revealed him and Juliet dated hundreds of years ago. This, of course, makes Justin and Alex jealous and everything, and then he starts acting impulsive, and then he wants Juliet back. I've already told you this causes a huge fight where the two bit and scratched each other. He turned into an actual wolf, and she turned into like a 1,000-something-year-old woman. And just like that, he broke her heart and he was gone, and he just went off into the woods and was never mentioned for a while until I think he came back in the 4th season, I believe. And when he came back, of course, they saw him as a wolf, and these hillbilly people had him. So they went there. There was these like hillbilly wizards and everything. They knew he was magical, and something about old like country musical instruments can like turn him back. It was a thing, all right? But anyway, they turned him back into his humanoid form. And when him and Alex start dating again, she doesn't want to be seen with him because he's in his half werewolf form, kind of like stuck like that. It shows off her selfish side and shows that she's shallow and everything. Eventually, she gets over that and they start dating when he turns back human looking. He introduces her to like his family, their werewolves, and I forget what happened, but he was really upset in that episode. don't know if they wanted to eat her or eat Harper or something. I can't remember which one. But like after a while, they break up, and I forget the exact reason as to why they. Oh, now I remember. Now I remember. She, I think, lost her powers because she revealed magic. And werewolves are not allowed to date humans because they're impulsive and will eat them. So the Witches' Council made them break up. But then she got back into the competition, but decided, you know what, maybe it's best if they stay broken up. And this is when his character sadly became hated throughout the fandom. He became a little stalkerish and everything. Like, when she moved out and into this magical apartment, he moved in with her across the hall. He would constantly come over every day pretending like he needed something but really didn't. And he didn't want to stop fighting for her. He just wanted her back. This became very, very, very like creepy in a way, because it's kind of like, yo, they're over. She doesn't want to date him no more. When she starts dating other guys, he gets jealous. Or if her ex-boyfriend comes into town, Mason ate that dude. It became kind of one of those controlling ex-boyfriend types. But one thing people need to remember is that, like they said early on in the 3rd season, werewolves are very, very impulsive. They can't control their emotions, especially when it comes to love. This is why he told Juliet, I never stopped loving you and everything, even though he stopped many years ago. And so sadly, because that was written in the 3rd season, they had to play that off in like this season and stuff, or the last season that is. And it just made his character very, very unlikable. Like, he could not take the hint, you know. But eventually, of course, they get back together, and they're still a couple at the end of the series, especially for that Alex versus Alex episode. However, we don't know the state of them in the new series. Well, like I said before, the 2nd season is out now, but I haven't watched it yet. So I don't know when I'm uploading this video. So I might have watched it, might not, don't know. And you know, when it comes to these two, this was her real true boyfriend next to Dean and everything. Like, her and Dean, they dated, but he would constantly disappear off screen. But then again, Mason disappeared off screen as well. But with the whole Dean thing, you never really knew they broke up because he just was written off screen and everything. But the thing about these two, and you know, this is a Disney Channel show, but they was willing to go that extra mile to show that, hey, two characters truly love each other and really want to be together and will do anything to like stay together. Like, even after he was turned into like a wolf, she traveled to whatever that state was with her brothers to go and like rescue him, even giving up the family portal, because that's what the hillbilly wizards wanted and everything, just to like get him back. Their breakup was kind of odd. I mean, okay, yeah, I get the rule that, you know, humans can't like date like a werewolf and everything. But then as soon as she was back in the competition, she just didn't want to date him no more and stuff. And she was ready to like move on. I forget the reason why that was. Honestly, as a boyfriend, I don't know. He had his flaws, but his flaws was only due to his werewolfism. He was a little too perfect for like a boyfriend. And it was kind of weird that she would like him because technically he's not no bad boy. And that's what she's always been into. Teresa Russo, played by Maria Canals-Barrera. So, she is the only human in the family. And I didn't even really know this at first, but I remember a long time ago, I used to watch the Justice League cartoon. And I did not recognize her voice. Also, when I watched Danny Phantom, I didn't recognize her Paulina's voice because she changes it for that. But she uses her regular voice for Hawk Girl. And there was something on the DVD where they showed what the voice actors look like. And when I saw her, I'm like, oh my God, she is gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? And so it took me a while to figure out who she really was when I saw her name in the credits, because her appearance changed slightly and her hair had changed. I didn't recognize her at first. I think she had lost a little weight when the show came out, and I just didn't recognize her with that in the hairstyle, because she changes her hairstyle probably about 3 different times in like the show. Now, one interesting fun fact about her is that she always wears these shoes that are open-toed and everything. Don't know why. I don't know if that's her thing or the show thing or what. So she is the only one in the family who truly never came from a magical family. And she despises magic. She just don't like it. She doesn't like people teleporting in and out. She hates teleporting herself because it hurt her ears and makes them pop. She hates when her kids get into devilment and everything. And she hates when something's trying to like destroy whatever. And there's a bunch of wizard rules that just gets on her nerves. I do like this side because of the simple fact, you know, everybody else in the family, they love magic, but there's this one outsider who opposes it and everything. They really could have like had some really strong debates for that, but of course it's a Disney Channel show. Other than that, she is the housewife and she works in the sub shop with that of her family. She's married to her husband Jerry, and it's funny, she gets on to him about a lot of stuff. They bicker more than they show their lovey-dovey side. And so, like, I remember when Alex lost her magic and everything, and Crumbs was in the room, and Justin all them, and Justin turned Crumbs into a guinea pig. She could have cared less and just like, you know, just walked off and everything. She gets onto Max a lot because he's always doing something strange and goofy. And for the most part, Justin seems to be her favorite. But like in the movie, her and Alex could not get along. Now, this whole hating magic thing, it started to phase out towards, the 3rd season or so. After that, they kind of changed the family's motto and everything. The family now is like kind of like extremely poor and barely making it. And you see her and Jerry always talking about money and like, you know, and then in the hotel, still like the towels and stuff like that. But one interesting thing they started to do with her character, once they started phasing out her she hates magic, is she became obsessed with her looks, her age, and popularity. It was an interesting turn because, like, I'm not sure when exactly they did this, but they overdid it in the 4th season. So basically, she'd be like, oh, like, people, like, you know, they would think, oh, you're so beautiful, young, like, oh, you must be Alex's younger sister. So it was like that type of, like, obsessed with your age type thing. And one time they went to the beach, there was like these like guys on spring break or something, and she's like, no guys, I'm married and everything. Or when like somebody was supposed to interview them for something in the camera, she was all like acting like she's like a superstar and everything. It was just it was a funny thing they did at first, but then they overdid it. They did it way too much in the 4th season. But it was just funny how she was like obsessed with like her looks and her age, and she looks great. Like you can't even tell. Like I remember the kids call her and Jerry middle age, and they're all like 40 something is not middle age and stuff. Now, she does show up in the new series and everything for 1 episode and 1 episode only. Now, Maria is Cuban. Even though the characters in the show aren't Cuban, they're Mexican and half Italian and stuff. Like, I'm trying to think what else did I see her in. She does a lot of stuff with DC, and I already said Danny Phantom. And of course, there was like, you know, the Justice League series. Jerry Russo. So Jerry is the father and a former wizard. And he's the one who teaches his kids, all about magic and this and that. Even though Alex is daddy's little girl, she gets on his nerves. She's always into devilment, stealing his wallet, tricking him, this and that. He has a catchphrase to when he's angry with her. It's like, ooh, ah, and then he'll like say her name and stuff like that. David DeLuzy, I think that's how you say it, or DeLaus. I'm not sure how to say his name. I never knew the dude was a Nepo baby. Both his parents are famous, and I believe they've sadly passed away. His dad, I recognized his voice from Dexter's Lab when he was Dee Dee's imaginary friend. I forget what his mother was in, but I think I saw her in something. And his brothers are famous too. One was in what was that show called? The Undercover Teen Cop, something Jump Street, 27, 24 Jump Street, something like that. And so, yeah, I never knew that. And so when it comes to Jerry, we see he doesn't have magic no more, but he's teaching the kids. At first, we assume that maybe he lost the competition or something like that. At least, like, that's what, like, he told his kids. But in actuality, he won it. But he gave up his powers because he was forced to. Because if a wizard marries a human, a non-magical person, they are forced to give up their magic and stuff. And so that's what he did. He chose love over magic. Now in the movie, we see how careless he is with magic when time got reversed and he still had his magical powers. And it's weird to see him act like Alex, like do whatever he wants with magic and stuff. And it's so cool that he found love and cherished this one woman so much, he was willing to give up the magic. However, that's one problem I do have with this show. Those two don't really act lovey-dovey like they're madly in love with each other. They just act like they've been married for so many years and they're just going through the motions. Now, his role started to get reduced since the first season because, like I said before, he was no longer teaching the kids. After that, they just made him straight up comic relief, but they made him the punching bag of fat jokes. And the actor has said that this really affected him and everything because they was constantly making fat jokes about him because Jerry loved to eat and would never exercise and everything. But it get worse than that. After a while, he was going to be let go from like the show. I forget why, but thank God they didn't fire him because everybody loves Jerry. He's like the goofy dad, you know what I'm saying? And so Justin tends to be his favorite kid because, Justin's smart, he's determined, he's respectful and stuff like that. Max is just Max. And we all know Alex gets on his nerves. And so, but like I said before, his role started getting reduced significantly as the series kept progressing. They would find ways to kind of insert him in the kids' lives, especially when it came to like magic, but it didn't feel the same as it did in like the first season. And then they turned him into a cockroach in one episode. I can't rewatch that episode. I'm sorry. It's so gross. And the way he acts is like, oh my God. Now, he's the Italian one of the family. And we don't really get to explore his Italian side that much. Not even really in the Alex versus Alex thing. But he does have two siblings. An older brother. No, I don't know his brother older or not. Maybe whatever Kelvo is. Older, middle, I don't know. And then his sister. Kelvo, he gave the magics up to. And Kelvo just does whatever he wants with magic. And just a big goofball. That actor is never coming back to either Disney, or like, what is it? The new series. Because when he was on the Goldbergs, he got Me Too like twice or something like that, and then got fired from the show. What he do, nobody knows. They won't say. But they had to reprimand him twice and everything. Now the sister, because she lost the competition and never got the magic, she became resentful and just doesn't have nothing to do with the family. Max Russo, Maximilian. So he's played by Mexican actor J.T. Austin. And I'm going to get to his character before I get to the Harper, only because Harper tends to do more and has more character development. Max is the youngest child, and sadly, his character constantly gets like forgotten about. Like literally, like the writers never really have anything for him to do. Now, Max, when he started off, he was just a dopey, dumb little kid, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't really take nothing seriously. He would goof around with Justin. He would mess with Alex and stuff like that. He's the one who rarely uses his magic and rarely uses his wand. But then something happened as the actor started to get a bit older. So, like I said before, he was just a dumb kid when the show first started. But then by the second season, when his character gets older and starts to go to middle school, when he's like a preteen or whatever, they decided, let's just make Max the comic relief. And more importantly, let's make him the character who's mentally inept. The dude is dumb as rocks. The stuff he says, the things that he does, never makes no sense. Now, in traditional form of Disney Channel, because he's the younger brother, they made him into like also the gross one and everything. Doesn't like cleaning his room, you know, his clothes smell, stuff like that. But the fact that they made him so stupid, it's just strange. Like, they can make him a little dumb, but to make him that stupid was just embarrassing to watch. You know, it was just kind of like, he is seriously, there's nothing inside his head. And it was even to the point where he wanted to keep putting marbles in his head. So I think he shrunk his brain or something to put more marbles in, and it made him even dumber and stuff. Now, there was a couple of episodes where they did try to show off that he does have some intelligence. I don't know if it was because of the actor's frustration or just the writers, but it never seemed genuine and everything. Like, there were episodes when he actually had like some intelligence, and it just felt off and strange and weird. Now, in the earlier seasons, he first started hanging out with Justin whenever they want to do something to Alex, like prank her or something. But then after a while, they paired Justin and Alex together, and instead they stuck him with the parents. So he was always the B plot of the series, but that's traditional Disney Channel for a younger kid. Matt was like that in Lizzie McGuire. So you will constantly see these random like B-plot storylines with him and like the parents and stuff. It always felt kind of weird. In the first season, he did not go to Wiz Tech, but in the second season, he did. Now, he's also the one who has the least amount of like girlfriends on the show. He started dating this one girl who was just as gross as him. I forget what season this was. It might have been the third, but they had to ruin his relationship because he exposed magic to her. After that, in the fourth season, they hooked him up with some girl in theater class, and I forget who it is, but who really cares? I think it was only like 2 episodes she was in. Like, literally, he is the character that they literally forget about to write for on the show. Now, but back to what I was saying before, it does suck that the Max character was always forgotten by the writers and how he was just crammed either into a B story or that with like Justin or Alex from whatever they was doing, because normally it's the middle child that's forgotten, but since Alex is the middle child, they're not going to forget her. And Max, like, he doesn't even have a friend or a best friend in this show. He was given a friend once for that episode where Justin fell in love with a werewolf, but that was about it. And since then, we've never seen him paired with nobody else in terms of like a friend. Now, in the third season, something I completely forgot about, Max did a spell and messed it up and somehow severed his conscience from himself. And for some reason, his conscience looked like that dude from Hannah Montana, Moises Aries or something like that. And so his conscience was basically trying to help Max out to be like a better person and stuff like that. I've never personally liked that character when he was on Hannah Montana, but here he's pretty okay and everything. And then something happened to where Conscience became like an actual real person and grew a conscience of himself. Basically, they had to get the original Conscience back into Max. I forget exactly how they did that, but once they did that, like, you know, both those two consciousnesses went away and something happened because they had to put them back together because Max was kind of like less of a person than himself. Now, one time that was really interesting in the fourth season is when Max tried to impress these Ivory League people. These Ivory League people only wanted Max in their little organization because like he was silly and goofy and they like making fun of him because of that. They kind of acted like a frat and they would suck up to like Harper, making her do like their laundry and also suck up to that Max's mom. Thankfully, Max was smart enough to realize he didn't need those guys in his life. And in the fourth season, Jake T. Alston was away doing something. I forget what it was he was doing. I'm not sure if he had to take a test for school or he was in like a Disney original movie. I'm not sure. But they had to fill the space. So Max and Justin are like doing magic and they both do like a spell at the same time, different spells, and it caused Max to turn into a little girl. In comes Maxine, played by Billy Madison. And I remember thinking, I don't think Billy Madison is Latino. She might be Italian, but I'm not sure. But anyways, this is the first time I ever saw her act on screen. I've seen her in plenty of stuff ever since. And it's weird because when Max turned into a girl, his whole personality changed. First, he was extremely pissed off and furious and just mean, which I can understand because he didn't want to be turned into a girl. But the dude was like really mean and everything, so much that he just wanted to plot revenge against Alex and Justin, which is so unheard of from him because if something like this was to happen, he'll be like, who cares, you know what I'm saying, and go about his life. Then something else weird happened. He became smart. He was, or she was no, he, she, whatever. They was no longer like the dumb, like, third child. They was now had like some extreme intelligence to them, which was odd because Max never had no intelligence. But then at some point he started liking being a girl because it became to his benefit. Like when his dad would give him stuff, or like he could like hang out with a bunch of girls and go to like a slumber party and stuff like that. But then he started crushing on a girl while he was still a girl. So this is the closest they have to like an LGBT relationship, but they never kiss or nothing like that. And he never gets to tell her how he feels. Because soon after that, they turned him back into like a boy. And then the moment they turn him back into a boy, he's back to being really stupid in the head. Now, in the fourth season and a little bit of the third, they started pairing him with Alex and Justin whenever they had to do something. Save the world, save somebody else. Max would just be there. And it always felt weird that he was there because he was never there before. At one point, he decided after something happened to him where he got like really upset, because I think everybody was paying attention more to the other kids than him. And so he created his own restaurant in like the lair where he would make food. He would take it from the sub shop and he would feed the people in the Wizarding World. And when Justin and Jerry found out, they ruined his business by taking it over. Now, when Justin and Alex lost their powers, he was in the running for like, getting like, the powers at the end because he was, well, even though he's lower than them on the scale, he was higher now. But then they studied again, and then of course, Alex beat him and everything. And so Max lost his powers, but he didn't really seem to care because that's how Max is. But then Jerry decided to give him the sub shop and everything. And when Jerry finally retired, Max took over. And in the new series, even though the actor has not appeared yet, it turns out he has tons of like sub restaurants and he's a millionaire now. Since the show, the actor has been on Dancing with the Stars and appears here and there. He was on a show on Freeform but got fired because the actor decided to drink and drive and was involved in a hit and run. He literally fled and everything, never went to jail, but his career has never really been the same since because he's never really been able to book like, a recurring or main gig since. He still pops up here every now and then, sometimes doing voice work, like when he was Blue Beetle in those Justice League movies or Teen Titan movies and stuff. Harper Finkel, played by Jennifer Stone. So Harper Finkel is the best friend to that of Alex in the show. And she's actually the only white character in the show. Well, technically Italians are technically like white Europeans, but they have to have something else in them to make them that shade of color and stuff. Anyway, her character is a really interesting character. She's really nice and really sweet and very cheerful. However, she also lacks that of self-confidence and gets scared pretty easily. Originally, I did not like this character in season 1, mainly because she rarely showed up, and not only that, but she was very odd, very strange, and kind of creepy about how in love she was with Justin. But when they brought her back more towards like the second season, and she was in pretty much every episode after that, I really grew towards her character. Her character became less creepy and everything. She was slightly less odd, but still just a little peculiar, but she was more real, like rounded and stuff. In fact, I would say that Harper is probably one of the most like defined characters on the show. She's like very, like she evolved from who she was from like season 1 all the way to the end, to the point where she's literally one of the best characters ever, like probably even better than that of Alex and stuff, mainly because Alex is a troublemaker and stuff. But yeah, she goes through so much growth and character development, more so than any of the other characters, especially that of Max, a little bit of that of Justin. But yeah, they really like focused on like the character growth of this character and stuff. And it was really refreshing to see because, like I said before, in the first season, I particularly just didn't care for this character. I mean, most people don't care for the best friend character anyway, for the most part, unless there's something really cool about them, like Ruby from Even Stevens or Miranda from like Lizzie McGuire, And so I'm really glad that they kept her on the show, and not only that, but like made her character so much better. Now, her character has a very unusual way of dressing. I feel so bad for this actress and all the weird outfits they put her in, because they tried to make her the quirky best friend. And they really did a wallop on those outfits and stuff. I mean, my God. She had one dress that was made of markers, one sweater made of hair, a cat on the top of her head, a cat on her shoulder. Any ducks, like that one duck outfit she had, anything they could think of, they just slapped on her and stuff. But she didn't always dress like this. Like, there's one season where she dressed like that a lot, but then there's other seasons where she dresses pretty normal and pretty toned down and everything. And it turns out the reason why she dresses so eccentric and everything and the reason why she's a little odd and a little quirky isn't really so much her, it's her parents. In one episode, we finally get to meet her parents and everything. And the parents are just as oddball as could be. But the thing is, they're in the entertainment business. They try to be like a comedic act duo and everything. And they bring her along to help, like, you know, do whatever zany thing they want to do. And the thing is, she doesn't want to do that, but she does it because it makes them happy. Her parents are very selfish, and I was very shocked and very odd they wrote her parents the way they did. It's almost like her parents don't love her. They just love the fact that they can like exploit her and everything. And it was to the point where I was glad that she lives with like the Russos now and not her parents. Now, like I said before, Harper is that of Alex's best friend. They do everything together. Now, I've always wondered, why exactly is Harper friends with Alex and why is Alex friends with her? They're, for the most part, the complete opposite. Like, Harper's this oddball fashionista. She's weird, she's quirky, she's dorky, she has no self-confidence and everything. And Alex is the rebel who doesn't care what people think of her. She's always getting into devilment, where Harper loves to follow the rules. You would assume Harper would probably be friends with Justin, but she's not. But I think that's why Alex likes her, is because, like, you know, she doesn't care what nobody thinks the way she dresses and stuff like that. And also, Harper's kind of like her conscience and stuff. And when Alex gets a little too far over the edge, Harper's there to bring her back. But Alex does display disdain towards Harper at times. Like, you know, because she just like, you know, Harper gets on her nerves and stuff like that. Now, Alex actually uses Harper just like Harper's family and stuff. Because whatever Alex wants to do, especially with that of magic, she will pretty much force Harper to do it against her will. And Harper just goes along with it. Or if Alex wants to do something, she will selfishly use Harper just to get what she wants and everything. Which is really messed up when you stop and think about it. But Alex is the anti-Disney Channel girl. Now in season 1, she had a massive crush on Justin. And it was just like painful to watch because she was obsessed with him to the point of stalking him at like the movie theater when he's on a date with like Miranda. And he never liked her back in that way. It was so just creepy. She was like extremely pushy and it was just like uncomfortable to watch. But thank God, like they toned that down some. Yes, she still had a crush on him, but it wasn't to the point of overly creepy like it was in season 1. And as time passed, like her just having a crush on him just became more funny instead of creepy. Like in that Stevie episode when Stevie wanted to take over the Wizarding World to make wizards not have to go through the competition no more. Her and Justin was in the wizard world and they was in like a ball pit. And nobody else was around, and she's all like, "You want to smooch a little?" And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, come on, just a little kissy kiss. I won't tell nobody," and everything. And he just went down in the ball pit, and she was like pissed off and everything. So it went from being creepy to just like kind of funny, like a recurring gag. But then she started having feelings for like Zeke towards the end of like, the 4th season. And so they later put those two in a relationship. It still seemed like she slightly had a crush on Justin, but not really. She claimed she had moved on from him with the whole Juliet thing, but then there was another time when she still had a crush on him. And of course, she was extremely jealous when him and Juliet started to date and everything. Now, when they brought her back full time, and sometime very early on in the 2nd season, they decided to let Harper know about magic. Alex got to the point where her relationship with Harper was starting to sour because Alex kept keeping secrets from her and stuff. So when they was at some type of like comic convention and everything, it got to the point where Harper was just being exposed to like magic and magical creatures way too much and had a costume similar to that of Wonder Woman. So Alice finally decided, hey, I'm gonna spill the beans and everything. And Harper was totally okay with that. And in fact, I remember at first I did not like that because I'm all like, no, I like it when they keep it a secret. I have to like run around and make up lies, kind of like in Sabrina, But it turned out to be for the best. Harper became Alex and the entire Russo's family best ally when it came to hiding her magic and stuff. Harper could help make up like more like reasons as to why Alex disappeared or why this weird thing happened. And not only that, but Harper became very essential in helping saving the world. She literally became the Russo's like sidekick and everything. When the Russos would find themselves in danger and stuff, Harper would be there to have their back. Especially when Professor Crumps made the Russos think that they exposed magic to the world and they're being hunted down by like the government and everything. Harper was in the sub shop, like, holding down the fort while all that was like going on. If one of the Russos get captured and stuff, Harper's there to help, like, contact the other Russo for like help and everything. So it turned out to be one of those things that was just like for the best. And Harper's pretty cool with magic for the most part, and her and Alex do like so much like magical stuff like together. However, Harper was barely in the movie. Like, she was only there at the beginning parts when Alex made the substation like train thing actually move. And yes, Harper does get scared of some magical stuff because, things just freak her out. But she was like, after that very beginning part, she wasn't in the rest of the movie, which totally blew. I'm all like, how can you do that to Harper, man? You just brought her back after barely having her in the first season, and now she's barely in the movie. Heck, even Beans got to go on the family vacation trip with like the Stevens, and he's not even part of their family. He didn't even live with them. Now there's a really cool episode called like Future Harper or something like that. I forget the name of it, but basically there's a bunch of books that are similar to Harry Potter that tells the adventures of the Russos and everything, but they're not named the Russos. And so when they find the Arthur and everything, it turns out to be future Harper. Apparently a very powerful wizard in the future sent like Harper back in time so that she could like, actually I forget why. I think to sell the books and stuff like that. Now, Justin assumes it's him, but we pretty much all know it's probably Alex and everything. And so, like, this pisses off Alex a lot. She doesn't like the idea of telling Harper all her family secrets and all their adventures and everything just so Harper can write it down in a book and make money off it. So it causes a huge rift in their friendship, but the younger Harper has no idea why Alex is pissed off and everything, because she's not allowed to tell, like, future events. So this causes Harper to put on that like helmet thing and transport into like the canyon, and Alex has to like go after her. They rekindle their friendship, and then younger Harper meets older Harper but has no idea who she is. But older Harper decides to give her, I think, her fishbowl hat or something like that. Now, future Harper is played by former SNL alumni Rachel Darch, I think her name is. Now, Harper has actually a catchphrase. Not too many people in the show has a catchphrase. There's Jerry, but his catchphrase died out after the first season when he kind of stopped teaching like the his kids and stuff. But Harper's catchphrase is whenever she gets freaked out and doesn't know how to like lie her way out of something, she'll say, "I'll see you in PE," and then just like run off. Then there's the whole like Jeremy from Science thing. So back when Alice used to lie to her and everything, she would be like, "Oh, there's this boy in science class named Jeremy, and he likes you," which will distract her because Harper's super boy crazy. And then one time Alex lied and said this one goblin guy was Jeremy from Science, which Harper should have known. Okay, she didn't know about magic then, but she should have known that this person is a grown man and not an actual like boy. But then when Harper did find out about magic, something weird happened, and she knew the goblin wasn't Jeremy from Science. Towards the third or fourth season, she was just like, "Oh, how is this gonna affect Jeremy from Science and everything?" Or she still had a crush on him. I'm all like, he's made up. Why is she still obsessed with him? Now, by the third season, Harper started to live with the Russos. Apparently, her parents were going out of town because they was doing like the showbiz thing. And Harper suckered like the Russos into taking her in. I never understood this angle. I guess the only reason for it is to like explain why Harper is always at the Russos' home and never her own. Because we never see Harper's home. But all they had to do was just say she likes to hang out with Alex a lot. They didn't have to have her live with them. Now, of course, when she did start living with them, it was a bit of a rocky situation because she has a certain routine and Alex does not like that because Alex is very lazy. And it was even at one point where Harper realized something, that Alex has been using magic on her since they was little kids. Because Harper's not very good at like sports or nothing like that. And then all of a sudden, to make her feel better, Alex would like, use magic on her. This really did put like a wrinkle in their friendship, but they always patch things up. In fact, they've always kind of had like a fallout at least once every season, but Alex manages to like make things better because she realizes, what she's doing is kind of like wrong. Or like Harper realized she's being manipulated, like in season 1 when Gigi wanted Harper and Alex kind of like break up. And so they invited Harper to like this like gala like banquet type thing, but didn't invite Alex, and it turns out they only did that because they wanted to invite one dorky person so they could make fun of them and stuff. Now, also their friendship came to a bit of a wrinkle when when Harper actually started hanging out with Justin and they just started being friends. This made Alex very jealous because she doesn't like, because both of those two don't like it when each other are hanging out with somebody else because they're just that close of best friends. And so Alex kind of tried to ruin the relationship between like Justin and Harper. And that's when it turned into that like really cool 1920s, 30s, like, what's it called? What are them type of movies called? Silent movies and stuff. Then, of course, when Alex started hanging out with Stevie a whole lot more, this made Harper very jealous. She felt like she was like a third wheel and everything, and nobody wanted to hang out with her. Because Alex is really the only person who can put up with like Harper shenanigans and stuff. And then, of course, there was the time when Zeke started to like figure out about magic, and Harper had to lie to him. And Harper literally was going to expose magic to him, even though she knows better not to do that. In fact, it's always funny because Harper is not supposed to know about magic, but she does. The family knows she knows, but like Harper is always interacting with people from the wizarding world. And yet none of these magical beings or even Professor Crump can tell that Harper is a human. Now, one interesting thing about Harper is her dislike towards Max. In 2 episodes, those two were paired together, and you can clearly see a disdain she has for him because of like his dumb nature and stuff. Now, since the show, Jennifer has been keeping squeaky clean. She hasn't gotten in trouble. However, on the podcast, she did admit to underage drinking when she went to a party when she was on the Wizard show. After Wizards ended, she starred in a couple of more stuff. Mean Girls 2, which I did not like. Some type of babysitting horror movie for kids show, which also I did not like. I watched the first episode. I couldn't get into it. It wasn't scary. And, excuse me, after that, I don't know what other stuff she starred in, but I just recently, and I mean just recently, watched a Lifetime movie that she was in a couple of years back called High School Possession. But it's also known as High School Exorcism. And while the movie is solid and her acting is very good and very solid, the movie is so misleading. You think it's like a horror movie about like some type of demonic thing, you have to exorcise them, but no, nobody is possessed. What it is like, it's about mental illness. That movie is extremely misleading. But anyway, she took a step back from that of like acting, and her and David D, the Jerry character, they started a podcast a while back through Christy Carson Romano, and where she pretty much spilled all the details on the show. Also, like, because of like diabetes and stuff, she had to lose weight, and she became a registered nurse. And she was on one of the front lines during the pandemic. That's amazing and everything, you know. While on the podcast, boy, when I say she reveals stuff, I love her for that. Like that was one of the best podcasts I've ever seen. Because not only did they teach you about the business, but they went like into it, like, you know, how like David almost got fired. How, like, I think they were going to kill his character off or something like that. How, like, the showrunner got fired and everything. And also how, like, they haven't spoken to, like, Selena since, like, the show ended. But one of the things that she just loved to talk about was David Henry and everything. And she revealed a lot of interesting stuff about that dude. So much so that, like, this is fan speculation as to why she hasn't appeared in the new series yet. Some people feel that, like, you know, by revealing this and revealing that, that might have upset him because he's an executive producer on the show. And in fact, David D and Jennifer, they didn't even know the show existed at first until fans found out. Nobody asked them to be like on the show, but then all of a sudden, David D got that message from David H. And we all know Jerry was in 2 episodes. Harper has yet to feature in the show. In fact, Harper hasn't even been mentioned yet. Now, to be fair, Jake T. Austin, he has not appeared in the show either, but he's been mentioned several times. So people are starting to feel that it might be a little disdain towards the two, because it seems like she doesn't particularly like some of his mannerisms and this and that. Also, I find it very odd, like I said, what was it, earlier this year, how Mimi, who plays Giada on the new series, who plays Justin's wife, bears a striking resemblance to that of Jennifer Stone's Harper character. It's a weird coincidence, like the skin color, the red hair, how Harper's always wearing dresses and Giada's always wearing long skirts and everything. Not only that, but like in the later, towards the end of the first season, Giada will wear kind of like weird looking like blouses or shirts, similar to like have a pattern on it, similar to that of Harper. Either it's a coincidence or this was intentional. Now, I'm not saying that the actress didn't earn her stripes and earn that role, because she does a very, very good job of acting. But I believe just maybe in the back of somebody's head, they're all like, let's try to find an actress with red hair. Cause it's just too weird, because Harper was in love with Justin. Giada is definitely in love with him because she's married to him. It's just too much of a coincidence, man. And it makes you stop to think that maybe, just maybe, Justin secretly liked Harper back in the day, but he just never dated her because of how weird she was. Speaking of the next person to talk about, Justin Russo, played by David Henry. Now, Justin, I always liked his character at first because he was the smart, like, character of the show. And I always gravitate towards, like, the intelligent character. But the Justin character started to turn sour somewhere around the 2nd season. Now, Justin is the oldest and a high achiever, very intelligent, and a little bit of a narcissist and everything. Like, when the show first started, he was just like, you know, the kind of goofy, lovable older brother who would like spy on his sister and try to get her in trouble. Typical boy angst, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it first started and everything, with him and Max like spying on her when she went to some kind of dinner thing. And I think it was that chocolate episode. But then later on, he started to be the reliable one. Now, he is dorky and he is geeky and he is nerdy and everything. And so quickly in the first season, he later became the one who would like save the day. When Alex would do something she had no business doing with magic, he would have to be the one to like fix everything. And when he fixed it, he was always nice about it and everything. Or like he was just nice towards her, like, you know, you're my little sister and I care about you, and, you know, stuff like that. Now, of course, there's a Genie episode where he went invisible and people forgot about him. So he does like get pissed at her and stuff. But then something happened in the 2nd season. By the 2nd season, he started to be grumpy, not just towards Alex, but towards every character on the show. He would be smart to like his parents, be smart to Max, be smart to Harper. And by smart, I'm not talking about intelligent. I'm talking about like a smart mouth and everything. And when you watch the first season, you assume that maybe he was the older brother who probably picked on the younger sister, but no, it was the reverse. It was later revealed that it was Alex who pretty much tormented him his entire life. So you get why he has disdain towards Alex and gets sick and tired of her, because she's been picking on him and lying to him pretty much her entire existence. And he's very sensitive and stuff. He's horrible at sports. But he was just really grumpy in the second season, especially in that crossover episode of like Sweet Life in Hannah Montana. Now, to be fair, she turned him blue. You would be pissed too. But like, he was just really pissed. And why didn't he use magic to fix himself? Like, he can do hand magic and stuff. I think he promised the parents he really wouldn't do magic, but of course Alex did it, so who cares? And so, but then, you know, he would still kind of save the day and still kind of not and everything. By like the third season, he started to achieve so high that like he even created his own spell. He created his own monster, Franken Girl and everything. That's just how smart this dude was, you know? And when he became so good, he was able to take an extra like course and he became a monster hunter. And so he wore kind of like this Blade inspired outfit. It's never revealed what the little vials of chemicals are on his vest, but they probably do something. And so, of course, as you can tell, his hairstyle changed. He was a bit more laid back in the third season. At some point, he started gaining more muscle and everything with the second season, especially in the third. And so this kind of showed off his physique, which there might be a reason to that. And so like this is around the time he started dating Juliet and everything. And when he had to like, you know, stop all the monsters and everything, I'm thinking of that China McClain song. Like, he goofed and Alex had to help him and stuff. Because I noticed something in the third season. His arrogance that was apparent in the second season went away in the third, and he became super scared, super goofy, and super gooberish in the head. It was like he just did a complete like personality shift and stuff. I think what it was is that people started to realize he was too much of a grouch in the second season. So they started making him back into his lovable self again. But they kind of overdid it with the writing, even to the point that when he became student body president and that whole Stevie incident, like, Alex really, like, you seriously thought Alex was gonna, like, she was pissed at him. Like, she was tired of him telling her what to do and not, like, you know, misbehave and all this other crap. Like, it was about to be some Drake and Josh kind of mess back when Josh got sick and tired of Drake. Remember that? And so, like, and it was Stevie who had to fix it. And when she fixed it, Justin's like dancing to like smooth jazz music in a very goofy kind of way. And it's just kind of like, what happened to the dude in the second season? Now, Justin loves to follow the rules and really hates to break them. But every season, he'll break them at least like once or twice for selfish reasons and stuff. First season was to impress a girl with the baseball. The second season, I forget how he broke magic. But then in the third, I think he did something with weather. He changed the weather and then like Mother Nature had to like step in. Also, there was that whole thing with Stevie and Alex, and Harper felt upset. So he pretended to be Alex so that Harper could help him fix the float. But then come the fourth season, he became a worse grouch than he did in the second. Basically, when him and Alex, this is another thing I don't understand. How smart he is. He believes in aliens, which makes sense because one, there's magical creatures everywhere, and two, they met like, aliens one time. And so at the end of the third season, he literally exposed magic to the government because he thought aliens were going to take over and it had to be the wizards who had to save the day. They tricked the crap out of him, but he's supposed to be so smart. They kind of started to dumb him down a little bit in like the fourth season. So because of that, and Alex also spilt the beans, their powers got taken away. But then they was able to get back in the competition if he was allowed to like teach delinquent students at WizTech. So that's what he did. Like for all of the fourth season, he pretty much just taught a bunch of wizards and everything. And it became somewhat pretty boring and everything. Like, because they kept changing the spells around. I'm like, why don't you just use that spell? Like, you know what I'm saying? But they would come up with like completely different spells and stuff. One of his students was like Felix, who had like some type of master wand and everything like that. But when I said they started to dumb his character down, I mean, they really did. He was no longer saving the day. By the third season, it was actually Alex who started to save the day for a lot of his mishaps and everything. And especially in the fourth season with like the angel stuff. Like he allowed himself to be corrupt and it was Alex who had to like save him and everything. This was positioning her to, of course, win the competition, but we already knew she won because of the movie. And they really ruined his character, like, in that fourth season, because he just became unbearable. He wouldn't even believe Alex when she was trying to tell him of this evil master scheme that's like going on and everything. Now, of course, he lost the competition, but he was allowed to keep his powers because he was going to be the new head wizard at WizTech. And the reason for this is because he's actually a lot older in the fourth season. See, Alex, he graduated somewhere in, I think, the fourth or third season from high school. And so Alex, she didn't want to like see Justin go off to college because she would miss him too much. So she cloned him and sent the clone off to college. The clone became a hipster and everything, who was nothing like Justin. He was all about like spirituality and like philosophy, and he could care less about science and magic and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said before, he was later on able to keep his powers and like, be the new head wizard at WizTech, which, as we now know, in the new series of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, he lost that position off screen because this other guy like did something to trick him or something like that, or mess with his wand that did something to like a unicorn or something like that. He later became like a vice principal at like a middle school or high school. I can't remember which one. I think it's middle. He eventually, him and Juliet broke up off screen and he married a human mortal, Giada. What doesn't make sense is we assume he doesn't have magic because he hasn't used magic since the show ended. But the moment he got his wand and started like flickering it around, he had magic. And it's like, how? When you marry a mortal, your powers are supposed to get taken away. This is a huge loophole that has pissed off the OG fans and everything. Something else that's really weird is like how his kids originally did not have powers and stuff. They use the excuse of, oh, it skips a generation, but fans are not buying that. But of course, now his kids have powers, and he's taking in Billy, who he's supposed to train. Now, one interesting thing about Justin I always liked was how, like, after he'll use a spell with his wand, he would like twirl it around and everything. That was always just so cool. It gave him a little bit of like coolness, you know what I'm saying? And speaking of him being like a dork and like a nerd, The dude had game. So many girls liked him and stuff, and he had so many girlfriends throughout the series. He dated more than any other person on the show. Now, as to why his character probably became the way he did in the second season with the arrogance and the coolness and the muscles and stuff like that. Well, Jennifer Stone said that when he auditioned for the role, which he almost did not get for some reason, I forgot why. But like when he auditioned, he sent in like a headshot. That's typical in Hollywood. You're supposed to send in a headshot. However, I think they said his picture had like kind of like his full body with like his arms and like his muscles and stuff, which she thought was a little conceited and everything. But then what's interesting is that she said that he never liked his character Justin because Justin was like the nerdy like dork and everything, and he didn't want to play that. But you know, he played it so well. Like, he's a really good actor and stuff. But it is always disheartening to find out when a star doesn't like their character. Similar to Xena, the guy who played Joxer, Ted Raimi, he did not like doing all the comedic stuff that Joxer had to do because Joxer was a dork who got picked on. Lucy Lawless, who played Xena, she hated the action in the show. So it does always suck to like hear that. But like the way Jennifer talks about David H makes him sound like conceited and like, you know, just not an all-round nice guy. Like there's something about him with a little shadiness. Like that's the way like it always like fans always assume because of the way she'll talk about him. Like there's always something about him that makes him just slightly unlikable. Speaking of which, now I told you this before, like I saw that video, and I'm telling you right here, right now, I saw that video. It has been scrubbed off the internet. You can't find it nowhere. And I forget where exactly I watched it at. I want to say it was MySpace, but I don't know if MySpace was around that time. And the video I saw was him and Lucy Hale like together. They was walking somewhere and these people started talking to them and David got pissed and wanted to fight them and she had to make him stop. Now, this is what's odd about like this whole situation. There's at least two completely different stories similar to that of mine. Now, David and Lucy dated from 2007 to 2009, right? And I told you I saw this video when he was on the show. Now, Dan Benson, who plays Zeke, he said in a podcast that before him and David got hired for like Wizards, he caught David almost getting into a fight outside with some people. In 2012, they reported that a 20 or 23-year-old David Henry and his brother was about to get into a fight with some people outside one night. His brother's younger, but they said he was 20 in this article. But I did the math. He would have been 23. Now, in 2012, Wizards was still on the air, I believe. It came out in 2007, and I think it ended in 2014. So he was still on the show when this happened. So what exactly does this mean? There are 3 stories about him almost getting into a fight. However, I've said this, I forget exactly when this happened, but TMZ reported that David Henry got arrested at an airport for having a loaded gun in his luggage. And yes, he actually got arrested. But they let him go and everything. And he said there's no hard feelings to the cops. Oh, how smug he sounds. And I'm just like, dude, what the world did he, like, why would he have a loaded gun in his luggage at the airport of all places? Like, that is so dangerous. Anything could have happened. Anything. The gun could have went off. He could have dropped the bag, the luggage, and the gun could have went off. Somebody could have stolen his bag. He might have misplaced his bag and somebody took it by mistake. Anything could have happened. And why was it loaded for? Normally when a person has a concealed weapon, they're supposed to keep the clip out. You know, that's the responsible thing. Now, it could be because of those incidences that I said, him almost starting a fight. Maybe there are just some people who just don't like him. Or maybe this dude has like a chip on his shoulder. Who really knows, you know? And I am very shocked and surprised Disney Channel rehired him and stuff. Which Disney Channel does like to play, like, you know, pick and choose of who they bring back when people have a criminal record and everything. Because, like, what was his name? Orlando Brown or something like that? The dude from That's So Raven? Yeah, he ain't ever coming back because of all his criminal activity and mug shots and stuff like that. But he has multiple ones and has been in trouble multiple times. Then there's Kyle Macy from the That's So Raven and Corey in the House. Corey in the House is not on Disney Plus. Fans speculate it's because of the allegations that were made towards Kyle with underage girl and everything. But yet he hasn't been charged, I don't believe, and everything. So far, it is still just a rumor. Nobody knows what has come of that. So it is weird how they pick and choose who they will bring back. On the Saturdays, the guy who played the dad, he has a criminal record from the past, and they allowed him to be on Disney Channel. On The Secrets of Sulphur Springs, the guy who played the future brother and everything, he has a criminal record and Disney hired him. So they do like to pick and choose. And let's not forget about Alex, what's that show called? Alex Mack or something like that. The Asian show that Disney used to have. A lot of their episodes are missing on Disney Plus because they had to pull it because a certain star is in those episodes and he got into some major trouble, like a Me Too type of situation. So it is weird how they pick and choose who they want to be on Disney Channel and who they don't. Plus, Selena probably had a little pull because she's an executive producer on the show, and he later became an executive producer when he joined the show. And a lot of people do speculate him and, like, you know, Jennifer just don't get along because they've asked him to be on their podcast and he just wouldn't do it for whatever reason. He has starred in a couple of stuff after, like, Disney Channel, How I Met Your Father, but he was really only there for, like, the beginning and the ending episodes, because, you know, the future stuff about how, you know, they met Ted, or how Ted met, like, their mother or something like that. He starred in a couple of other stuff and directed a movie, but then all of a sudden Hollywood just stopped casting him and stuff. But like I said before, he is, like, a really good actor. And that just leaves Selena Gomez herself, who played Alex Russo. So I've always been a Selena Gomez fan, and I still am till this day. She's been trying to get into Disney Channel for a while. Like, first was, like, you know, what was it, that Lizzie McGuire spinoff, and then, like, there was that Zack and Cody spinoff, and then she was on Hannah Montana. And then she nabbed the role of, like, Wizards of Waverly Place. And when she got on the role, I already told you, like, the different name changes. And they finally decided to make the family, like, Mexican-Italian. Now, what's interesting about that is the flag. The Mexican flag is on the left and the Italian one is on the right. They look the same. except for the Mexican flag has decoration in the middle. This is because of French, where they took like, inspiration from like French tricolors and stuff. Kind of interesting. It's just interesting how like she's like both races, and both races have like the similar flag. But Alex Russo is a very interesting character and stuff. Alex, see, Disney Channel, they first tried to market her as your typical Disney Channel girl. You know how Disney Channel is. Their shows focus mainly on like a female character. It's rare, back in the day, well actually, okay, back in the day of Zoog Disney, the shows will either feature a brother-sister duo or just like a male solo. But with Lizzie McGuire, they changed everything. Sorry to clear my throat. And so, like, they changed everything with Lizzie McGuire, and it started being female-centric. Especially during, like, the golden age was like a mix of either male but it's mostly female. And so the show revolves around her. And like Disney fashion, the Disney machine tried to take over. Dancing, singing, acting with like Selena Gomez, you name it. And they try to market her first as your typical Disney Channel girl, which I like to call a Disney Channel princess. The nice girl who has like impeccable fashion sense and everything. The type of clothes your young tween or teen will want to wear and everything. And she kind of had like this upbeat type personality, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, she did bad stuff, but she was so cutesy wootsy, you just like let it slide and everything. But then somewhere towards the end of like the first season, and especially in the second season, her personality started to shift. No longer was she's that boppy little teeny girl and everything with the brightly colored clothes and everything. Then she started to be the rebel. Now, like I said before, she's always gotten into mischief and everything in the first season. But it was more kiddie type mischief and everything. It wasn't that like severe. But then by like the second season and a little bit of the first season, we started to see Alex, the bad girl. Alex was basically Disney Channel's first like rebel with the cause, little criminal and everything. She was the anti-Disney Channel girl. Because I guess her popularity of her being like this little mischievous, like little bad girl was like so infectious and everything, they really started to write her more like that. Like, and not only did they start writing her like that, but even her clothes and her hair would change. As Gomez got older, of course, she started having more mature like hairstyles and everything. Sometimes that short bob in season 3, or the short curly hair in season 4, the long hair in season 2, and sometimes season 4. Season 4 feels kind of weird because her hair kept changing. And it's like either episodes or either order, or girl can grow her hair real fast. And so like her clothes became more mature, they became more muted. Alex became like an art student and everything, and she just became slightly more down to earth. Not only that, but she became extremely lazy and everything. We would see her on the couch, reading her magazines, which she loves to do, not wanting to lift a finger, complaining about doing this and that. Selena based her character off of Rachel Green from Friends and everything. But, and then it started becoming more and more apparent that not only is she misusing magic, because in the first season, it was just fun. Oh, there's a stick that can, no, that was second season. What was the first season? Oh, you can like clone yourself. So she wanted to go and get like, this fashion sale that was on and get some clothes. And her rival was there and everything, so she cloned herself so she could miss like her class, her wizarding class. And and the brothers took over the body, made it start doing weird stuff, and it makes the actual person do weird stuff. There's the chocolate episode, when she's like diving in the chocolate, and the episode where Gigi tried to take Harper from her just to make fun of Harper. And I think one of them was swinging on curtains or something like that. Because they even gave her like a rival, you know what I'm saying? Like, to solidify, hey, she's the good girl and Gigi's the bad girl. But then quickly in the second season, when Gigi went away, Alex no longer had a rival. Now, in the first season, Alice really didn't care what people thought about her or how she looked. But by the second season, she really didn't care. It was like she had a vibe to her. It was like she was the outcast and everybody loved her for it at school. And people was even a little bit terrified of her at school and stuff like that. Because Alex always gets her way and everything. She's always in detention. It was to the point where when Justin turned into a werewolf, like, the thing about her and Max, because like Max is all like, oh, since Justin is gone, we're gonna spend more time together. Let's spit in this cup and everything. She was so grossed out. She's like, I have to get Justin back. And then it's revealed later on she constantly bullies and picks on Justin. And like that one episode where she shrunk herself to fit inside her dollhouse and she lost her wand and everything, Justin had to like pay this little girl for the dollhouse. And when he turned her back to normal, she's all like, I'll pay you back the money. He's like, no, you won't. She's like, yeah, I was just saying that. And because she could care less and everything. She could care less if she takes your money or use your money. She uses Harper and everything. I've already talked about how like selfish she is. She's even a little criminal. She tried to send Max away to some kind of like clown camp or something like that. And the only reason why it didn't work is because the device or the magical tool that makes you disguise yourself as somebody else, somebody recognized her because she's used that disguise before for some other kind of criminal activity off screen and everything. But she was literally gonna send her brother away to like camp during the summer because he got on her nerves that much. I think she even said she got like arrested in like the Wizarding World or something like that. So it was interesting to see this different type of Disney Channel like character and everything. Yeah, the whole Hannah Montana Miley thing, like Miley would break a rule, like say take like a car or something like that, but Alice was constantly breaking the rules every day, even more than like Raven and stuff. Like when they skipped school, I think, to go to like a concert or something like that, Alice was constantly like, magic is just a plaything for her. She could care less about rules and implications or consequences. It's just about her having fun and everything. But then in the third season, something started to change with her. Now the movie had already come and passed by this time, and we knew she won the competition. So of course the show had to play that off, and plus because she's the main character. So the show started to mature Alex. She started taking her wizarding studying a whole lot like more serious because Justin was way ahead of her, and it made her jealous. This is when she cut her hair really short, started wearing those high heels, and started dressing more like a college student and everything. And the high heels really did make her look taller with the shorter hair. This was to give the appearance of her maturing and everything. And mature she did. She was starting to save the day a lot more, and especially in season 4. In season 4, the girl was coming up with ideas to save things. The girl was using her wand to save things. She would gather her brothers to save things. Like, the girl literally saved the world more than like probably you have fingers and toes and stuff. And it's because like, they had to pay off her winning the competition and stuff. People were expecting her to win. She is the main star, for crying out loud. And that's what happened. She won the competition in the two-parter finale and everything. And it's weird because she's a slacker, you know? Like, she slacks off so much, but she's street smart. She doesn't know that many spells because she didn't pay attention all that well, but she can able to conjure up like a scheme in her head and able to use magic to make a situation a whole lot better. She's quick on like her feet and everything, and I think that would help make her that of a better like wizard and stuff. Now, after the show and then the spin-off series, she's dressing way more mature than she's ever has before. She's dressing like a grown adult. Not only that, but she plays Billy in the care of like Justin because Alex is on the tribunal. Not quite sure what that was at the time because that was something new. It's kind of like a wizarding security like council and everything, which kind of makes sense because she was always saving the day. And so that's her job now. She went from being a slacker who could care less about anything to protecting not only the human world but the wizarding world and stuff. I still deep down in my heart believe that she is really Billy's mother, but they haven't like said that yet. It's just something kind of odd. Like I really feel like that's her child, you know what I'm saying? Now, of course, after like, you know, the show, Selena Gomez went on to have a movie career, but sadly it did not do too well. She had a band, but then they later parted ways. I think she wanted to be like a solo singer or something and also focus on acting. And so, but then after a while, she stopped music. Now, sadly for Selena, she's been going through a roller coaster of like emotion and problems since the show ended. She's the type of person who wears her emotions on her sleeves, and this is because she suffers from mental illness. She's been in rehab for depression, bipolarism. She even contemplated taking her own life one time, and thank God she did not, because we need Selena Gomez in this world, you know? And so, like, but she also went to rehab for other reasons. Drug, alcohol, typical Disney Channel former kid stuff. And so, like, and of course, that's gonna mess with a person's mental illness even worse. She's had so many public feuds with like former Disney Channel like stars like Miley and like Demi Lovato. Her and Miley are back on speaking terms. Her and Demi, I have no idea. You know, there was the whole thing with Taylor Swift and that whole girl group, and then that exploded, but they're back on speaking terms now. After her movie career fizzled out in there, oh, I also forgot to mention her kidney. She had to get like a kidney transplant and everything because like she had medical health issues and everything. And like, and sadly, because of all those medical issues, it prevents her from making a child of her own. And that's really sad. Like, I don't know if she wants a kid or not, but like, to me, she kind of seems like the type of person who would want to be like a mother, you know what I'm saying? Like, but there's always adoption, you know what I'm saying? And of course, we already know she's been through so many relationships up and down. But now she has finally found the one. She's engaged to be married. And for some reason, the internet does not approve. You know how fans are. Fans feel like they're entitled to their celebrity. They don't like the way he looks and blah, 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 blah. But it's none of their business. As long as he makes her happy, as long as he does not cheat on her, as long as he does not hit her, y'all should be happy. And like, but even he has like fears of their relationships that she might leave him one morning. Like, dude, look at her. She's stunning. Be happy you got that. You know what I'm saying? Be happy you got that. Cause can't nobody else have it. Click your heels and thank your lucky stars. and just be quiet and enjoy your time. Now, like I said before, her acting movie career fizzled out. And so she did the smart thing by like producing stuff. She produced a show on Netflix. She had some kind of cooking show. And then now she's on like Only Murders in the Building on Hulu, which she's an executive producer on, working alongside two legends, two SNL legends and everything. And she was on SNL, which was that whole ghetto like talk show thing was hilarious and everything and stuff. Trying to think. However, there are some things about her that are kind of odd and weird. Like I said before, she stopped talking to her Wizards cast. Like, nobody knew this, because when she was on the show, she made it seem very important that like she loves her cast, they're like a second family to her and everything like that. Like, you assume they kept in touch, but no, she ain't keep in touch with like none of them apparently. And it's only when I think Jennifer and David D like let the, you know, spilt the tea and everything about how they haven't spoken to her and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, she spoke to him. I guess she felt guilty or something like that. And apparently, I think the reason why, well, this is what I read, why she disconnected from people is because of what she's been going through in life, like medical wise, and her health and mental illness and the relationship she's been in. And she was afraid they might disapprove or like judge her and stuff. And, you know, and like I said, she wears her emotions on her sleeve, you know, and people should have empathy and stuff like that, you know. And so her and Jennifer did their, what was that, funky hat dance or something like that? A funky hat, or it was something that they used to sing on the show. And I don't know if they still talk or not, but at least they reconnected at that point in time. And so, like, you know, and one of the things that just broke my heart was, I think it was earlier this year. Yeah, when like her race started getting like deportated and without due process and everything. She got online to say how much it like hurts her heart, and she started crying online. You would assume people would have had empathy for her. You know, like, people with the heart and soul did, but not some people. Especially people of a certain political group who just attacked her left and right. Talking about she shouldn't be upset and she shouldn't be crying. It's her people, man. They're getting snatched from their homes, snatched from their family members. Kids are getting snatched from school, you know, by people wearing masks and everything, and without due process. And it broke her heart and everything, because she has a heart and she has a soul. She's not perfect. Nobody is. She has her flaws. But the thing about her is that even though she has flaws, like we all do, the thing I can always appreciate about her is she always gets back on her feet. I just hate when she messes up again, but you know, she has to learn from your mistakes and everything. So people should never have condemned her or made fun of her the way they did. And this was people in the government making fun of her and stuff. That tells you just how low we have become and everything. So yeah, Wizards of Waverly Place is my all-time favorite, and I mean all-time favorite Disney Channel show. Next, second is Jessie, and then everything else can just follow in whatever like number and stuff, from the Zoo Disney era to the Golden era. I don't really watch Disney Channel like I used to, because I'm way too old now and stuff like that. I only pick and choose whatever I want to watch, or if it's a celebrity I recognize and stuff. And Disney, Wizards of Waverly Place has always been one of those special type shows. So special that grown adults are watching the spin-off series and everything, and critiquing it because it's too similar to the original, and also kind of odd when the magic doesn't make no sense anymore. Speaking of which, many years later, a show came out called Wizards Beyond Waverly Place that centers around Billy. wizard. I always wonder, why do they call the females wizards? I think because they don't want to call them a witch with a W, because if you replace the W with the B, you get a very naughty word. And stuff. But it follows that of the wizard Billy, who is always destined to destroy the world for some reason. She's really powerful, and Justin has to teach her, like, her magic and keep an eye on her because evil forces are always coming for her and stuff. And the new show, it centers around also Justin. He has 2 boys and a wife, Giada. The 2 boys originally did not have magic, but now they do after the finale of season 1. Winter is the best friend. The show is fun, the show is cute, but the show is way too similar in some ways to the original. Basically, these characters are not like original because they're just carbon copies. I can't talk. Carbon copies of the original cast. Billy is Alex. Justin is Jerry. Giada is both Teresa and Harper. Well, Winter is Harper. Milo is like I think Milo's the youngest one. He's Max, and whatever the older dude name is, he's Justin. And so they have their personalities, which people just want brand new personalities and stuff. Also, when the magic doesn't line up with how the magic was used in the first season, it gets very confusing because canon is supposed to mean everything, Certain things change because they have a bigger budget. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the Wizarding World getting like an upgrade in the CGI. I'm cool with the magic getting an upgrade, but it's just some things in the show don't make no sense from the original, but the show is way too similar to that of the original. I want originality. I want something different. I want something new. It would have been cool if Justin was still the head of WizTech and like he has to teach his sons and Billy, and maybe Giada can like join in on the fun and everything. Show them in the Wizarding World for like an entire season, living there instead of like the mortal world and everything, But nostalgia is really big right now, so that's why they went with something more safe. Also, there are fewer episodes now. There was like 13 in the first season, and the second season I think is about to have 10. So yeah, you can watch like Wizards of Waverly Place on Disney Plus. Now, it never officially came out on DVD, only certain volumes, and the movie and the special Alex versus Alex, which also has the finale in there. Or does the movie have the finale? I forget which one. And I'll see you next time.